Hello to everyone out there. I am Poetic Heretic, and today we will be looking at the Temperance, also known as the art card. So, as usual, if you're watching when this is not live, you may fast forward 5 minutes in where we will begin the main part of the material. And in the meantime, I'll make sure everything is as it should be. So, test, test, test. How do we look and sound? So, test, test, test. How do we look and sound? Good. Oh, that's weird. Music's match is coming up for this as if it's a song. I'm wanting to present the lyrics to the song. Yes, this is the song I sing, the song of Poetic Heretic. Oh, wait a minute, I did just give this a like, right? I think I did. Hang on. Okay. That phase is complete. So we're about 3 minutes away from beginning. Oh, it is freezing today still, but not as cold, thankfully. I'm actually able to function at this point. Live as in the Temperance or art card launch. Okay, that looks good. All right, we'll begin in less than 2 minutes. So yeah, this isn't a card that I actually know as much about as usual cards. In fact, it's probably one of the ones that I understand the least. So I'll be learning a lot in this stream as well as those who watch it that may be new to tarot or relatively new to tarot. Don't know what my hair is doing right now. So yeah, I'll be giving my interpretation of it, and then we'll be looking up other interpretations. I'll be critiquing them as usual. And I think what I'm going to do also later today / tonight, after we're all done with this, is I'll do another stream where I give live tarot readings for a donation of any amount. So that should be fun. So less than 1 minute and we will begin. "30 seconds. Yeah, I'm pretty sure today's stream, unlike last week's, will be in 2 parts because of the timing, just how it ended up working out. Okay, I see we are about 5 minutes in now, so let us begin. So, again, I'm Poetic Heretic, and today we're going to be looking at the Temperance, also known as the Art card. We're going to be analyzing them, both the surfacey meanings and the deeper esoteric meanings, and everything in between. I'm going to give my interpretation of it, and then we'll look up other interpretations and study those, and I'll also take any comments and questions on the material. So I want to say first and foremost, as usual, these are all my interpretations, opinions, perspectives. I'm not affiliated with any order or organization of any occult or esoteric nature or whatever. This is just my coming into all of this from a highly individualistic perspective, the same way I have since I started studying tarot. So there's that. I also want to note that, like I mentioned in the preliminary 5 minutes, this is one card that I know probably the least about compared to how much I know about other cards of the major arcana and the tarot in general. So I think my summary on it today is going to be relatively short, and I will be learning just as much as anyone else probably throughout the course of today's stream. But nevertheless, so the Temperance card, what do I know about it? Well, I believe, to the best of my ability anyway, to understand it, what it represents in terms of human experience is a time in life where you do begin to engage in a transmutation of energy, where you do begin to find almost like a light in the dark or an oasis in a desert or something like that. You know, it immediately follows the Death card, which has a lot to do with deep emotional healing and stuff like that. So my strongest theory at this point about this card is that it is deeply connected to that. It's connected to the idea of alchemy and of taking the light of your awareness into the darker aspects of yourself. And of course, I'm sure we'll, at some point in the stream, be able to confirm or deny that, or at least get some insight into it. But it certainly has alchemical symbolism in it, so I think it's a quite plausible idea that that is a big part of what it's about. And of course, as the name implies, temperance, a tempering of, I would say, resistance or the darker emotions, trauma, issues, challenges that one has faced, stuff like that. It's the card that comes right before the Devil card, and so I'm pretty sure there's going to be a connection there. But it's what is interesting about this, though, is that we're in the second half of the major arcana now, which is largely a very dark journey, the dark side of the major arcana, more or less, you could look at it as. And yet this card is much more about the light and much more about optimism and stuff like that. So it's like a light in the dark, you know, it's almost an anomaly in the second half of the major arcana. And it is indeed ruled by optimistic, idealistic, imaginative Sagittarius, and the planet Jupiter, of course, about bigger, better, more, optimism, beliefs, knowledge, that sort of thing. So I think it represents that kind of a point in one's journey, maybe even where after a significant sort of death and rebirth have taken place, you gain knowledge that allows you to transform more and to transmute the energy more, because again, ruled by Jupiter, planet that is about knowledge and beliefs as well. So there's that. And speaking of beliefs, it could even be connected to the idea that your beliefs form your reality, that beliefs form reality, and maybe even one's discovery or realization of that or of similar ideas. I'm sure we'll get more into that as we go. Let's see, what else? What else is I going to say about this? Well, as for how I interpret it when I get it in readings, normally I'm going to think about the idea of prosperity and expansion, wealth, and yes, especially of a monetary nature, but maybe sometimes of other kinds, optimism, things getting better, because remember, ruled by Jupiter, bigger, better, more. This card, it does have connections to the idea of abundance. And I'm also going to think of spirituality. I'm going to think of almost the idea of, what would be a good way to put it? I don't know, maybe the idea of renewal or something like that. But of course, transmutation, alchemy, that sort of thing as well. Being able to transform a situation to some extent. But really, it's the idea. It almost reminds me of the Strength card in a way, but well, maybe we'll get into that later. But the idea of making peace with things and that sort of transmutation that comes with that, perhaps peace through understanding. So, like I said, this card is probably the one that I understand the least in the major arcana. I'm not sure why. That's just what has happened thus far. So we're going to find out a lot more about it together today. So I think that is where I'll leave it. That will be my summary of it, and I'll comment on the additional stuff that we find out as we go. Also, well, one more thing. It is, of course, with it being ruled by Sagittarius, a fire card. Its element is fire, passion, willpower, action, assertion, drive, energy, and some will say that the element of fire is associated with the human spirit as well. So that's going to tie into the meaning of the card one way or another. All right, so let's begin our study of this material. We will begin as usual with, as soon as my tablet cooperates, with the Biddy Tarot ebook, which is kind of a bridge between the surfacey interpretations and the deeper interpretations. Just give me just one moment here. All right. Temperance description. The rune is Wunjo, W-U-N-J-O. Not sure if I'm saying that right. The rune of joy. The astrological sign is Sagittarius, the teacher of truth, enthusiasm, tolerance, and beauty. The angel is actually a hermaphrodite, the child of Hermes and Aphrodite, showing a balance between the sexes. Okay, so right there, it mentions Hermes, so that might be another clue as to what this card is about. Hermes, Mercury, the magician, and Mercury, the planet of the intellect, the mind, communication, talking, thinking. So even though this is indeed the element of fire, there may be an air connection. Like, again, I don't know for sure. I'm more still theorizing here, but considering the idea of Jupiter's association with beliefs and the understanding and the, how do I even say this? Well, they say knowledge is power, so the power that comes through understanding, often perhaps even through the intellect. There might be a bit of an air connection in this card as well, so like fire, air, perhaps. Anyway, the triangle inside the square on her robe represents the female being protected by the natural law. Remember, justice had the circle being protected by the law. Temperance is protecting the woman. The cups are the sub and superconscious again. The water flowing between them is actually going from the lower cup to the higher one, signifying raising from a lower plane to a higher one, or perhaps a lower vibration to a higher vibration. Notice the path in the background, again leading to the sun. The flowers are irises, of course, sacred to the goddess of the rainbow. The angel has 1 foot on dry land, the material world, and 1 foot in the water, the watery place of the subconscious. Okay, so that's interesting. So that's gonna indicate sort of bridging the material world with the unconscious realms, the emotional realms. So that's fascinating. Invoking Iris in your meditation can assist you in integrating 2 or more important issues in your life. She can assist your process of experiencing your life as an art form that is both tempered and balanced. So maybe what a big part of this card is about also then could be the idea of integration. It certainly fits the themes, when there's some aspect of ourselves that we've repressed, denied, or disowned, and we finally face it, we finally look at it and re-own it, we reintegrate it. Well, that could be what we have here as well. Temperance, like justice, indicates the need for balance and tranquility to achieve and experience fulfillment in our lives. The angel in the image has one foot on a stone and the other in the river. In this stance, she represents the need to, quote-unquote, test the waters before jumping headlong into unknown circumstances. Here she tempers the whimsical flight of the fool who jumps without giving a second thought. In her hands are 2 cups which she uses to mix water. One cup can be thought of as holding hot water and the other cold water. The temperate individual mixes the opposites and finds a balance in life by avoiding extremes. That's interesting. So neutralizing polarity within oneself, yeah, that's that's a huge aspect of life. So maybe even, yeah, I think like what I was saying earlier then is even more plausible now, the idea of making peace with things. So often in life we attract that which is of the opposite polarity of us. So if we become polarized in some way, like in one kind of viewpoint or one kind of way of being or something, we will actually attract the opposite because the polarities are trying to neutralize themselves. They're trying to achieve balance or really harmony. So, for example, I've talked about this before once. It's like you have different relationship types, relationship modalities, where one person will be very needy and another person will be like, oh, I need my space. Well, people who are needy attract people who need space, and people who need space attract people who are needy. It's because they're both polarized opposite to one another, and so they do therefore attract. So this card, could it be about the resolution of polarities, but not even doing that by anything outside of yourself, but actually doing that by going within? That's kind of what I'm beginning to think here because of the symbolism and what we've read so far. Because you don't need to, attract something to get you to realize that you can neutralize a polarity. You can neutralize a polarity by doing it consciously. You can think, okay, what's the opposite of this position that I've taken? And, realize that. Because in a larger sense, since we're all one consciousness, that opposite polarity actually is also a part of you, but it's a part of you that you have sort of focused yourself away from. So become aware of it, become present with it, and then you won't be so likely to attract difficult experiences that challenge you so much because you'll have already achieved that balance or really inner unity, inner integration, that inner peace that doesn't even need to attract those challenges so much, if even at all, really. A state of peace is not a vibrational match to a state of challenge or turmoil or whatever. So I guess we go back to the basics here with that. All right, so meanings. What you are experiencing is a clash between the old and the new, a chemical reaction in mind, body, and affairs caused by reaction to a new action. There is nothing to fear, it's part of the process, and without it, change could not occur. You will see a need for a reevaluation. You may be reevaluating the situation. Be aware it may be you who are the subject of the forthcoming reevaluation. Avoid, quote-unquote, crying over spilt milk or saying, I told you so. This card represents adaptation, coordination, and tempering influences. You are able to work in harmony with others. You show good management and balance in your outlook on life. What you have imagined will come to pass. Patience. You need to be patient so that you can act with timing and precision. Test yourself. Do you feel anxious or in harmony with practical considerations and natural laws? Learn how to mix, blend, stir, and wait. I actually question the idea of patience and if maybe that is even entirely what this card is really truly getting at. Like we might think of it as patience, but really, so if you have found inner peace, as this card seems to suggest, if you have tempered yourself, if you have reconciled opposite polarities, then you're already going to be in a place where you're enjoying the present moment. And if you're enjoying the present moment, you don't really need to be patient for anything. Patience would no longer apply. So I think really maybe this entry, this paragraph in this book has it wrong a little bit. It isn't quite getting it quite right. Maybe the idea is not patience in this card, but the idea in this card is to go beyond patience. It's a state beyond patience where you don't even need to be patient anymore. That would be my theory at this point. There are certain people who exude a kind of quiet composure. They may not say much, but they go about their business with an air of calm deliberation. Their presence is comforting because they are so centered. This is the energy of temperance. To be temperate is to show moderation and self-restraint. In a world full of enticing indulgences, it is often necessary to find the middle ground. Sensible, maybe, but also a bit boring. The energy of temperance may seem unexciting on the surface, but it is the calm of a hurricane's eye. All around are swirling winds, but in the center is a still point that brings everything into balance. I would question also, though, is it really balance or is it unity? It also brings up the issue that there seems to be a weird, almost disadvantage maybe to really finding a lot of peace because a state of passion seems to be a polarized state, right? It almost seems like you can't have states of intense passion without intense states of the opposite. It's negative. So I'm not sure what the word would be for that, intense disappointment or sadness or something. But at the same time, I can definitely say from personal experience, once you've lived enough years of like suffering and pain, you get to a point where you're like, I so want peace. I don't care what it costs, like I'm ready. If it costs me passion somewhat, then so be it. I want the state of peace. But then you go into that for a while and then you begin to want passion again. So I don't know. It's almost this weird ebb and flow that seems to maybe take place. In readings, temperance can represent a need for moderation, especially when extreme cards are present, such as the Knights. This card can also indicate a need for balance. In conflict situations, temperance suggests that compromise and cooperation are vital. Look for any opportunity to bring opposing parties together. In fact, to temper means to modify by adding a new component. By combining and recombining, we come up with the ideal mixture or solution. Temperance is the card of good health in all areas, physical, mental, and emotional. When illness or disease is a concern, temperance holds out the promise of vitality and well-being. Patience and moderation will result in good management of all things. Your temperament will be well-balanced. There will be cooperation in activities with others. Want spiritual assistance in producing the solution to a problem. Many unforeseen or unexpected events are going to come up, but these elements will chemicalize, neutralize, or transform situations, all with a positive end in view. What you are experiencing is a clash between the old and the new, a chemical reaction in mind, body, and affairs caused by a reaction to a new action. There is nothing to fear as part of the process, and without it, change could not occur. You will evaluate seclusion, detachment, and retreats as methods for accomplishing great things. You will avoid pain, conflict, and distractions and lessen your stress and anxiety. Looking inward will recharge you. Keywords: balance, moderation, patience. All right, in a moment we'll look at the reverse meanings. But again, I don't know if this card is really talking about balance so much as it's talking about integration, because balance still has two or more of a thing. Integration is unity, oneness. There's a difference. Reversed: bad management, competing interests in business or personal affairs. lack of good judgment, quarreling, corruption, and separation. Your relationship involved competition at some level. You are both striving to express your individuality in very different ways. There's a lot of energy around now, but none of it is being used positively. Unresolved conflicts in both of you have yet to be expressed clearly. Indeed, you may not be conscious of them, although you are aware that something is wrong. These conflicts may manifest as role reversal. In the beginning, one of you was dominant, now the other seeks to take control of the union. This problem is especially likely in your careers. One partner may be suddenly successful and forced to devote more time to work, while the other resents this change, feeling that he has lost control. An old-fashioned argument may be necessary to clear the air and establish new ground rules. Interesting interpretation of the reversal. On that note, I fundamentally disagree with, and speaking of polarity, as far as I can tell, I fundamentally oppose this idea of clearing the air, because the only way that one could need to quote unquote clear the air is if at least one, if not both parties, were already being inauthentic to begin with. You know, if people were being authentic, there wouldn't even be any need to clear the air. Clear the air makes it sound like it's okay to be inauthentic for a while until finally things build up to a point that then you have to say and express how you really feel. And then oftentimes it's very damaging in the process, unnecessarily damaging. So I am completely not okay with this idea of clearing the air, because it smacks of not only inauthenticity, but of encouraging the idea that it's okay to be inauthentic. And now people are leaving because they don't want to hear this, apparently. My viewers just went down, but whatever. The truth has to be said, whether people want to hear it or not. Clearing the air is a very bad way of looking at things, an absolutely bad way. It's like people who say that arguments and fighting should be expected in relationships. And I say, no, not necessarily. Not if you're being authentic to begin with. If you're being authentic to begin with, then as soon as some kind of potential issue begins to arise, you talk about it and resolve it before any argument or conflict could take place. Now, can arguments and conflict take place even when both people are being authentic? Of course they can. Life is much too unpredictable to say that it couldn't. But people just have such screwy ideas about relationships that are based on a philosophy that advocates inauthenticity, and I will not stand for it. So anyway, as my freaking hair distracts me as I'm talking. Oh God. Anyway, let's look up some other sources and see what we think of them. So I'm just going to do an internet search for Temperance card. We'll probably get some surfacey interpretations for a bit, but that's okay. Give me just a moment here. All right, looks like keen.com will be the first one that you look at. They usually are first, I've noticed. The Temperance Tarot card. Do you see both sides of an argument? Can you lead adversarial parties toward a middle ground? Have you recently discovered the value in sharing control? Is your recovery something that has brought you to a happy medium in life? Are the days of excess behind you? The Temperance card is the tarot's way of indicating that peace will not be arriving because you already have it within you. When you are in that even place away from the harsh side of things, you will find that peace, and in unleashing it, exert the greatest amount of control over your world with the least amount of effort you could ever imagine. An angel with large feathered wings stands at the water's edge of a lushly landscaped pond. Her right foot is dipped into the shallow water. Her left foot stands firm on the ground. On one side, golden lilies blossom from out of the greenery. On the other is a path leading from the pond all the way through a verdant landscape to far-off mountains toward a bursting yellow sunrise. The angel's gold-crowned yellow hair pulsate with a halo. Her white robe has a golden triangle and a white square embossed in the center of her chest. In each hand, she holds a golden chalice, and she is pouring water from one to the other, her gaze fixed on the stream of her own design. This card is linked closely to the cards before and after it in the tarot deck, serving as a buffer between uncontrollable destruction and self-destruction. The card before it is Death, number 13, featuring a gloomy sunset indicating that things have ended for good. The same sunset on the right side of that card is rising here on the left side of this card. The card after it is the Devil, number 15. The winged angel has transmogrified into a winged devil, and the two chalices here are two enslaved pleasure seekers. That was another thing I thought of before the stream that I forgot to mention about this card. So since each card of the major arcana is both the complement and the opposite of the card previous to it and subsequent to it, and the Devil card follows this card of Temperance, well, that would imply that what we have here in Temperance is the opposite of what the Devil card represents. So something that is much more divine, one could say, that isn't about, you could say, the carnal side of things, but the opposite of that, So just a bit more clarity there through the contrast that has. So where were we? The tarot's sophisticated pace gives us the peaceful respite that only an oasis can bring. Everything in this card speaks of balance, equity, and repose. The golden triangle is an ancient symbol of healing. That stream of water between the two cups is the act of finding the right balance between two sides, giving everyone their fair share. With all the gloomy drama surrounding this card in the deck's natural order, there is a healthy dose of serenity throughout this illustration. Yeah, so that's like what I was saying earlier. That's one of my strongest theories about this card, is that it is like a place of serenity in the midst of a lot of darkness. And so that's going to correspond to one's journey through life. Meaning in past, present, and future positions. Each tarot reading features an examination of your past, your present, and your future. Specific locations in the reading lock the card that lands there into a description of one of these time frames. And again, I just have to remind people that it's not every spread has past, present, and future. When the Temperance card lands in your past position, there is a foundation of calm in your world. Your childhood had a peace to it that has lent itself to ensuring that the ever-maturing present is never too rattled. This could also be an indicator of an incident in the recent past when you showed a great degree of integrity and character in a situation that you could have easily tilted to your advantage. In the present position, you are finding common ground in a dispute. This is a great card to appear if you're going through a divorce and custody battle. You can feel confident that, moving forward, things will be equitable despite past disagreements. We often cling to our more extreme positions out of a fear of what life will be like were we to move toward the mainstream. Temperance insists that in abandoning extremism, you will actually be happier, will not miss the past at all, and may find a greater degree of acceptance for who you are and what you believe. The stubborn side of your character will be replaced with tolerance when Temperance appears in the present position. So again, we have this idea of the resolution of opposites and the resolution of opposite polarities, as I was saying earlier. This is one of the most welcome cards in the tarot deck when it is in the future position. No matter how tense your struggles are now or how forgettable your past may appear, the future is a sunrise of peace and well-being. If you are ill at present, this is a great card. Reflecting stamina and physical health are on their way. Many people seek a tarot reading as entertainment, but almost as many seek it in times of great crisis. Tarot readers delight in seeing the Temperance card in the future position as they get to give their client great news about his or her days ahead. This is very true. Well, I can say this. I never give tarot readings for the purpose of entertainment. If you come to me for a reading, you're going to get the real deal to the best of my ability to present it, at least. Also, I need a tissue real quick, so give me 30 seconds. I have returned. Like, this chair makes so much noise when I move around in it sometimes. Maybe because it's new. All right, card combinations. When the tarot cards are dealt out, the group speaks as a whole. The presence of one card will influence the other cards. Certain cards match up well and change each other's meaning a little or a lot. Temperance, tarot card number 14, is most closely related to the Emperor, tarot card number 4. Whereas the Emperor card exerts control from an inherited position of leadership, Temperance effuses a self-control that has been learned and earned. When the Emperor appears in a reading with Temperance, a mastery of your passions leads to a major career breakthrough. All right, then it says, and it gives a link for something, but yeah, that reminds me of something else that I wanted to mention earlier about this card, and that is that via the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, it is linked to the Empress card. That's done by lining up each card of the major arcana with the various Sephirah of the Tree of Life. And this one shares the same one as the Empress card. And so, as I was saying earlier, there's a part of this card that does talk about prosperity and abundance and financial gain and stuff like that. And what does the Empress card largely talk about? Or at least a big part of that card: money and financial gain and stuff like that. And so basically that's there for a reason. The tarot is making a very pointed statement when we have something like that. So just something else to keep in mind. It's not just the emperors they're saying here as they look at the numerology of it. It's also the Empress when we look at the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. So money is a part of this card. When the Tower is in a reading with Temperance, your self-control is challenged by events in the outside world that you could never have planned for. The forces of chaos will take you out of your normal day-to-day existence, but will you really be that rattled? The Nine of Pentacles is a card that complements Temperance. This is the card of being blissfully enraptured with material success to the point that you may not see how it has entrapped you. With Temperance, the wisdom to leave behind excessive behavior produces a material security without the obsession for big spending. The Three of Wands is a card of wanderlust that is aided by Temperance in any reading that occurs before you begin setting out on an adventure. You will have a fun time without it being so wild that it risks your personal security. When your reading features the star accompanying Temperance, look for a great dose of artistic inspiration to lead you in a creative direction. You can accomplish quite a bit under the energy of this reading, especially if you are in the middle of a project for work or are working toward a college degree. The star inspires, but we can often dissipate this energy with partying and casual effort. Temperance delivers the diligence to manifest a great result out of a good idea. All right, so that concludes that article. So in just a moment, we will continue with trustedtarot.com and see what they have to say about this card and see if we agree with it, disagree with it, or what we think of it. Also, remember, for those watching this live, you can feel free to chime in with comments or questions. You know, if you have a question about this card, something that you don't understand about it, well, that's what I'm here for. Feel free to ask. and I'll do my best to explain it. So trustedtarot.com. Temperance, capable, control, harmony and balance, moderation, parentheses, drugs/alcohol, self-confidence. Temperance's meaning. An optimistic card, Temperance encourages you to find balance in your life and approach problems with a calm demeanor. It recognizes that opposing forces need not be at war within you. Tread carefully in any major decisions you make, with confidence that good decisions will lead to a good resolution for you. Past. The experiences you've had learning to work in harmony with others will be an ongoing trend. Balancing the material and psychic elements in your life has deeply influenced you. Present. Something you have long desired will come to fruition. Expect a wealthy partnership or marriage to develop in your immediate social circle. Future. Take control of your life and practice moderation. By staying in balance, you will resolve any current conflicts and begin a new chapter in your life. Yes/no key interpretation. The Temperance card suggests divine intervention, balance, and harmony. The positive overall presence of this card in your spread reveals high levels of self-confidence and control in your endeavors. The answer provided by this card is most likely yes. All right. Also, they again mentioned balance there. I feel like what's probably going to have to happen in this stream is I'm going to have to say this over and over again, so I apologize if it gets repetitive, but it needs to be repeated because so many sources want to talk about balance for this card, but balance is a misunderstanding if you're taking it to mean harmony, and we really have to get this because it's so key to the way that we're thinking, and a lot of the problems and challenges that we face these days are brought by erroneously thinking that balance is truly what we're going after. So I'm going to explain it fully right here, right now, and then I'll just reference it throughout the rest of the stream whenever this idea of balance comes up. So here's the thing. When you have balance, right, you're going to have two or more of something. In order for things to be balanced, there must be at least two of something. Thus, therefore, duality, thus, therefore, division, thus, therefore, non-integration. So in order for there to be balance, there has to be at least two of something. There has to be at least one division, at least two of things. There has to at least be some division. So what we really want is a state of wholeness, a state of unity, a state of integration. So we don't want balance. We want to take those two or more things that we're trying to balance, and we want to bring them together. We want to integrate them. We want to unify them. We want wholeness. That is a healthy state of being. Like any organism that is divided internally, at war with itself, is less and less functional. The more divided internally it is, the less functional, the less healthy it is. The more unified it is internally, the more whole it is internally, the healthier it is. A state of wholeness is a state of health. Now, indeed, I will admit it is true in our human experience. I'm pretty sure it's virtually impossible to get to a state of 100% wholeness, at least, in this reality, at least when we're incarnate in physical human bodies. But we still should be encouraging unity as much as possible and discouraging disunity or disharmony or division as much as possible. We should turn our attention away from the idea of balance because it encourages division. We shouldn't do anything to encourage balance. We should encourage unity, wholeness, integration. So I've talked about this in other streams before, and that was, I guess, a fairly thorough explanation of what I mean. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And as for the rest of the stream, I'll just reference that when necessary, when we again hear this sort of erroneous idea of balance when analyzing this card. Because, I mean, look at the symbolism of the card. I don't think the card itself even means balance. I think it means integration. look at the water flowing from the cups. It's flowing together. It's one. Yes, there's two cups, but the water is one. It's connected, and even the cups are connected in that way. And we've read all the stuff about the reconciliation of opposites and of opposing polarities in analyzing this card. So I think that's what it's really all about, is finding inner unity, not balance. You might think it's a small difference, but oh, believe me, it makes all the difference in the world. Like the way our thoughts create our reality. Our thoughts affect things a lot. Like our thoughts matter. So we have to be very careful with the meanings of words and concepts and ideas. So anyway, next up is ontiflow.com. Let's see what they have to say about this card. And then I think we'll look into something deeper after this. All right, here we go. The Temperance card often comes up in a reading when you need to learn or understand the concept of all things in moderation. It is a card of joining forces, working together, uniting opposites, and spiritual balance, with the end result being a harmonious mix of all things. It begs the question, in what ways are you overextending yourself or being too rigid? Like most cards in the Rider-Waite deck, this card is rich in symbolism. Temperance, by its very meaning, is a bending... Wait, this article is screwed up. Bending of ones. Oh, no, I understand it. It's missing an apostrophe. Temperance, by its very meaning, is a bending of one's will to a direction of the Almighty. The card depicts this through multiple layers of symbolism. Usually noticed first is how the card shows an archangel, often said to be Michael. That's weird. Earlier we saw what? Aphrodite and Hermes, it said. Guess there's different interpretations. Mixing water between two chalices as a representation of balance between the elements and the dissolution of the liquids between each other. Also, I would say, like this says, it's very symbolic, or the cards in the Rider-Waite deck are very symbolic. Well, not as symbolic, I would argue, as those in the Crowley-Thoth deck, which we will be looking at shortly. We'll be looking at this card of the Crowley-Thoth deck next after this article. That's where we get to the real esoteric symbolism. Both he and the mountains in the background are touched with a halo of gold, radiating understanding that comes with age and time. A commonly missed symbolism is the feet of the angel, one in the water and one upon the land, which reinforces the concept of balance and of both body and mind. Again, we don't want balance, we want unity and integration. We want unity between body and mind, body and heart, heart and mind, all of these things. Many querents will be reactive to this card because often it is shining a light on a flaw within them or within a relationship that they are seeking to develop. Temperance calls to questions your... Again, this doesn't make sense. Temperance calls to question your true priorities in life and requires that you be sure that you are not the one blocking your own success by stretching yourself too thin or unwilling to meet in the middle on a significant issue. Try hard to see things from the universe's perspective and understand that the tarot is not pointing a finger at you directly, but merely trying to guide you to lessen your load. Taking on too much or too little can be detrimental to your purpose at this time. Yeah, occasionally, like if I stop and have to reread something, it's because these articles have a surprising amount of typos in them typically. I'm not sure why, but whatever. Let's see, the freaking hair is distracting me, jeez. Temperance and love. When seeking advice from the tarot about love and relationships, the Temperance card indicates a need for balance in either the relationship or your... Again, this doesn't make sense. In either the relationship, your relationship, whatever that's supposed to mean. If you are currently single, then the card is more direct and states that there is likely something blocking you from love in your life and usually represents the fact that you are giving too much in another area. For example, you're looking for love, but are you really ready for it? Are there other commitments in your life, such as work or family, that are holding you back and taking too many resources and creating a situation where you are unlikely to be successful? In a relationship setting, the Temperance card will show a need for balance between both individuals. Usually, this card is drawn when compromise and compassion is needed between two individuals. It can represent fighting and strife that is unnecessary if both parties are willing to meet in the middle and try to stand in the other person's shoes. Remember that you are in the relationship with your partner for a reason, and when this card comes up, it is apparent that there is a true emotional connection. It is a positive card that tells you that this relationship is worth the extra effort at this time. Temperance and health. In regards to health and wellness, the Temperance card is an omen that you need to either take it back or turn it up a notch. Both ends of the spectrum can be bad for one's health. Being slothful or being too lax with your health can be just as bad as overexerting yourself or doing too much. We usually see this card when health issues are on the rise, and it is likely that you have already noticed deterioration with your wellness in some way. The positive news is that it is not too late to do something positive and see improvement. Think of this as a warning to take a keen look at your own mind and body and see where additional care needs to be taken. The answer will be quite obvious, as rarely ever does someone in peak physical condition pull this card. If you feel, however, that physical health is not a problem, it is also indicative of mental health and can do not ignore signs. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Maybe it's supposed to say, and you should not ignore signs or symptoms of anxiety, depression, or overindulgent behavior. Temperance in work and wealth. Right now, you need to take your money and put it under your mattress and be careful of taking risks. While the card itself means balance more often than not when it comes to money and career, it is a sign to take a step back and be more conservative with your income. It's a touchy time for you to be taking huge risks in either avenue of your life. I question this interpretation. You need to be very careful with actions you take, and possibilities that seem to arise at this time are not as good as they seem. Often this card will show that it is a good time to wait on an opportunity that arises, stating that with patience you will see a better one down the road that will pan out more fruitfully for you. A rule of thumb with the Temperance card in financial aspects, be it money or work, is if it's too good to be true, it probably is. I don't know about that. I don't know about that because this card has a clear side to it that indicates financial success and prosperity. So if I were interpreting Temperance in a financial reading or career reading, I would say, this is indicating the likelihood for success and prosperity. It's undeniable. The Jupiterian rulership, the association with the Empress, that's my interpretation, and I'm sticking to it. I don't know. I guess I can kind of see where this article is getting its interpretation of like, be careful with your money at this time, because the idea of temperance, moderation, stuff like that. I guess that is plausible too. It does make sense in a way, but I still feel like and think that the idea of prosperity is in most cases a much more likely interpretation, much more apt interpretation. But anyway, different people have different interpretations. Now for reversed. Reverse temperance in a reading. In the reverse position, it indicates a personal balance is needed, and the card is usually more internal than external. Rather than looking out around and pointing fingers at others, now is an excellent time to see where you personally can scale back, create harmony in a rough situation, or literally suck it up. That's never good advice, to suck anything up. With the reversal of temperance, we see an even wider swing of negativity around as well. Health problems you have require more attentive care. Financial problems need to be curbed immediately. And in relationships, you need to seek the truth of the matter before making a decision. Often this card is drawn when a person is in a downward spiral situation and is unable to see the rational side of the problem. You need to stop and ask yourself where you could use assistance in your life to get back on track, and possibly consider seeking advice from others to turn your perspective to a more productive and healthy outlook. Interesting. When I get temperance reversed, I tend to interpret it as the idea of sadness and depression, also spiritual crisis, spiritual issues, challenges, and possibly financial problems as well. All right, so next up, we are indeed going to look deeper. We're going to look at the Crowley Thoth version of the card known as Art, and we're going to be looking at esotericmeanings.com. Their always insightful article on the card, on cards of the major arcana and minor arcana too, as I looked up. I will say one thing first, however. If we're going to talk about the idea of art and temperance and resolving inner polarities and stuff like that, well, I can tell you from personal experience that using art itself, like, poetry, painting, drawing, singing, music, art of virtually any form, is indeed, needless to say, a way of tempering difficult influences within yourself and of resolving polarities, of transmuting energy. I mean, that's what, see, if you ask me, the great secret of poetry and other art, and I'm speaking from experience here, is basically alchemy. And this is something I discovered, my God, let's see, this is 2019, that I discovered over 13 years ago, is basically when you really discover the true power of poetry or other art forms, it's alchemy. That's what it is. And that's even why I call myself poetic heretic, because I was born out of that sort of existence through poetry years ago. Like, my identity is rooted in my discovery of alchemy at a very young age. But at the time, of course, I didn't know what it was I discovered. Freaking hair today is driving me nuts. I love it. We're talking about these deep, like, meaningful things, and I'm like, oh, my hair is bothering me. Sorry for that, people. All right, so anyway, this is esotericmeanings.com on the Thoth version of the Temperance card, where it is known as Art. And in the words of the mighty Otep Shemaya, art saves. Maybe we'll talk about that more later. So this says my new YouTube channel is Thoth Tarot Videos, so credit goes to them. Channel Thoth Tarot Videos. Check that out if you want. And here we go. Thoth Art Tarot card. Temperance was renamed Art by Crowley to represent the art of alchemy. Oh, there you go. I swear I have not read this before. Although both cards represent the same theme. The figure in Art is called an androgyne, or androgyne, not sure how to say it. It has both masculine and feminine characteristics, and Crowley relates it to the Roman goddess Diana. And then it shows a picture of the card, which I can just show you the card itself here. I want to give a close-up, but it's such a huge card that I guess I can't hold it too close to the camera. Yeah, so as you can see, there's all kinds of, like, deep alchemical symbolism on it. Rider-Waite Temperance Tarot card. I guess it talks about this a bit. Some definitions. Temperance refers to moderation, self-restraint, balance. Losing one's temper refers to losing control/balance. Tempering something refers to make something less severe or extreme. This angel shows the integration of fire and water. Water is represented as flowing between the cups and the fire symbol on her breastplate. There we go. And that shows the elements here in their subsequent unity. Hopefully I can get it to focus. There we go. Yeah, and again, it's interesting when we're talking about the idea of unity, that this is a fire card. Its element is fire, and that's said to be, by some, interpreted by some anyway, to be the human spirit, fire. So, which other people will say is the fifth element. We'll say the quintessence is the fifth element, the human spirit, which would be a sort of integration of these things. So anyway, the theme of this card is therefore about balance and harmony. Thoth Art Tarot card and the Tree of Life. All right, here you can see it occupies the path between Yesod and Tifereth. All right, there it is right there. The Thoth Art Tarot card connects path number 25 between Tifereth, Sun, and Yesod, Moon. Tifereth is about manifesting beauty in the world and connecting with our Christ center. Art connects the Sephiroth with Yesod, which is a reflection of the subconscious, which, like dreams, can throw up difficult aspects and things we have not yet resolved. Aha! So there is more credence, again, or gives credence to my theory of it being about reintegrating aspects of ourselves that we have suppressed, rejected, or denied. This card is all about integrating these two aspects. Okay, geez, basically what I just said, and bringing the things we have not resolved to the surface and purifying them in our higher self. This can sometimes be a challenging process, but it enables us to temper out nature and find balance, or the quote-unquote middle way. It's interesting that also was in the middle pillar of the Tree of Life there, and occupying the path between Tifereth and Yesod, the sun and the moon, respectively, the masculine and the feminine attributes. Yeah, polarity, reconciling them. So, yeah, it's funny because, like I said at the beginning of the stream, this is probably the card of the major arcana that I understand the least, and yet throughout this, I'm really getting it now, like for myself, you know, despite years of working with the tarot. And yes, I've learned quite a bit about this card in that time. It still remained largely a mystery to me, or, well, compared to other cards at least. But now I'm beginning to really figure it out. Thoth Art Tarot card, Hebrew and astrological attribution. The Hebrew attribution for the Temperance card is the letter Samek, meaning prop or crutch. When we give up our material props and put our faith in our spiritual path, our life will be enriched. When we face our fears dwelling in our subconscious, we unravel the difficult aspects of our nature that are unresolved, and we throw away the prop of being comfortable in where we are and move to a place of inner beauty, working through these energies that have stagnated beneath the surface of our consciousness. And you can see the Hebrew letter there. The art card is ruled by Sagittarius, and the significance of this will be discussed further below. Let's try to fix that blur. There we go. Thoth Art Tarot card and the integration of opposites. The Thoth Art Tarot card is an illustration of the integration of opposites, which we will list below. Integration of zodiac opposites. It shows a chart here. This is interesting. I wonder where this is going. Like I said, I haven't read this before. It's my first time looking at it. But you see, I'm going to try to hold this more still. In my study of astrology, I've always noticed that it seems like each sign has a sort of yin-yang thing going on with its opposite sign. So like Capricorn and Cancer have things in common, but in a complementary way. And like Aries and Libra have similar things going on, but in a complementary way. And all the rest of them, basically. So let's see what we have here. Art is opposite the lovers in the zodiac. They represent forms of alchemical marriage. In the lovers, we had solve, or the act of dissolving, and in art, we have coagula, same as to coagulate or put together / reassemble. The lovers reflects the pain of separation, whilst art is about reintegration and harmony. Holy shit. Now we're getting to the real meaning of this card, I think. Now it's really making more sense. Because that's absolutely right. In the lovers, we had the division, that card is ruled by Gemini, the twins. We had the division, we had the polarity, But now in Temperance or art, we have the division being dissolved. We have the polarities coming back together. And so again, I say, it's not about balance, it's about unity, integration. I mean, it literally says it in this article and others we have looked at. All right, so it says, when you separate a substance and refine it and then put it back together, it is something new and improved. This is an analogy for illustrating the process of the spiritual seeker purifying and integrating himself so that he is more spiritually evolved and is a better conduit for the flow of spirit into matter. Very good. 2. Integration of the king and queen in the Lover's card. The figure in the art card is a fusion of the Empress and Emperor. It is also a fusion of the subconscious moon energies with the conscious sun. This masculine and feminine interplay is also described below. Give me a moment to let that sink into my brain here. So the figure in the art card is a fusion of the Empress and Emperor, okay? It is also a fusion of the subconscious moon energies with the conscious sun. This masculine and feminine interplay is also described below. Okay. So it's a fusion of the Empress and Emperor. That's an interesting way of looking at it also. Robe decoration refers to bees and serpents. These are on the Emperor and Empress and in the Lover's card, and they appear together on the androgen or androgyne in the Thoth Art Tarot card to show the integration of male and female energies. So the separation we see in the Empress, Emperor, and Lover's cards is now reintegrated in the Thoth Art Tarot card, but in a higher octave spiritually. And you can see, bees and serpents. These are on the Emperor and Empress and Lover's card. And they appear together on the Androgen Thoth Art Tarot card. Okay, and then it shows some of the Lover's card for an example of that. The Thoth version of the Lover's card. I don't know if it's going to focus, but whatever. All right. Bees refer to fertility, and this fertility gives rise to the renewal of life cycles represented by the serpent with curly tail. In the Thoth figure, the arms have been swapped so the black arm is associated with the white face, and the white arm is associated with the black face. The two figures in the Lovers merge to become one in art. The figure in art is called an androgyne or androgen. You know what? Enough of this. I'm going to look up how you actually pronounce that, since it keeps coming up. Looks like it's androgen, I think. Hang on.
Androgyne.
Oh, androgyne. Okay. I guess I can't read the little, pronunciation symbols. Okay, so now we know. So the figure in art is called an androgyne. It has both masculine and feminine characteristics. The blonde hair is now on the dark-skinned side of the. Now it spells it differently, androgyne. Maybe it still means androgyne though. This is so confusing. And dark curly hair on the white side of the androgyne. Okay, so the blonde hair is now on the dark-skinned side of the androgyne, and dark curly hair on the white side of the androgyne. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you can see that on the card right there. So like it's now different. The point they're making is it's now different from what we see in the Lovers card. All right, let's see here. The silver crown of the White King is on the Black Queen, and the golden crown of the Black Queen on the White King side. So representing more of this idea of integration and unification. 3. Integration of lion and eagle. Their colors have been interchanged from the Lovers card, so the red lion is now white and the white eagle red. They stand upon burning water, representing the union of the elements of fire and water. The eagle has traded its feminine gluten, jeez, these words, for the blood of the male lion in the bottom of the Thoth Tarot Art card. So the eagle has traded its feminine whatever for the blood of the male lion in the bottom of the Thoth Tarot Art card. Okay, so what it's referring to, and it shows a picture of, but I can just show the actual card, is these figures at the bottom. It says they trade their gluten or whatever and blood in the cauldron between them. One moment, please.
Gluten.
All right, I guess that's what it is. So the same thing that people have to avoid in certain kinds of foods or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, that's what it says. They trade their gluten and blood in the cauldron between them. Cauldron refers to, if we look at the cauldron itself, it has the sign of the raven on top of a skull, which relates to the death card, which we reviewed in the last tutorial. In the cauldron, both the pure aspects of the feminine and the masculine are contributing to the mix. They are being refined so something new can be created out of the death of the old, and for more on the alchemical aspects of it, please see the reference book of alchemy. They give a link there. More specifically, the raven and skull stand for the dross that is filtered out in the purification process. The cauldron is yellow, representing the sixth Sephiroth, Tifereth, ruled by the sun, and this represents the balance and harmony of its contents, just as Tifereth reflects balance and harmony on the middle pillar at the center of the Tree of Life. And they show this image here. Tau cross on cauldron rim refers to integration of the elements and is also a sign for new life. And they show the symbol of that. Which, wait, where is that exactly? This is on the cauldron rim, integration of the elements and a sign for new life. Oh, there it is. It was like right in front of me. It's like right in the center at on the rim of the cauldron. Rainbow on breastplate symbolizes the product of the purification process in the cauldron. A stream of light passes up the figure and forms rainbows on her breastplate. and then they give a link. All right, so let's see here. Rainbow on the breastplate. Okay, I see that now. Symbolizes the product of the purification process in the cauldron. I'll show that. You can see that right there. Is it going to focus for us? And then it says a stream of light passes up the figure and forms rainbows on her breastplate. So the product of the purification process in the cauldron. Rainbow in the background arising from the breastplate and contains the words Visita rectificando invenius occultum lapidem. Visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification, or purification, thou shalt find the hidden stone. A simplified description is given below. Crowley goes into great detail in his Book of Thoth, page 104, it says. Interesting. So, visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification, purification, thou shalt find the hidden stone. Philosopher's Stone, alchemy. Well, there we go again. Yeah, and you can see, if it wasn't obvious already, those words, those Latin words around the edges. I can freaking get this thing to focus. And again, it reads, Visita rectificando invenius occultum lapidem. Visit the interior parts of the earth. By rectification or purification, thou shalt find the hidden stone. All right. This freaking blur. There we go. The statement describes the process and result of what has happened in the cauldron. When we go within ourselves, the center, and purify that which we find the hidden stone, philosopher's stone, enlightenment. We then have color and harmony surrounding us, rainbow. Vitriol, derived from the letters from the above statement, representing the balance of the three alchemical principles, sulfur, mercury, and salt, or the three gunas. Again, we have this idea of balance, harmony, and integration expressed. The arrow of Sagittarius implies the importance of directed will in this process. Right, so I'm going to see something real quick. I think I might have the Book of Thoth. Maybe we can look at this page 104 that was referenced. See what Crowley had to say. If not, maybe we can find it online. Okay, a whole bunch of things came up. I guess I've got all kinds of stuff on it. All right, I guess I'll just try the first one. Let's see what we get. Next up, we have integration of elemental opposites. So we'll be looking at that in a moment. Okay, it's loading. It's taking forever to load. But we're getting there. We are getting there. I think I'm just going to maybe read the next part while, or no, I think it's just about there. Well, anyway, the next part starts off by saying integration of elemental opposites. The androgyne pours water and fire into the cauldron. And, okay, let's see here, page 4. Yeah, holy shit, we can find it, it looks like. Hang on, though, the numbers in the PDF are slightly different than the numbers of the pages themselves. Oh, wow, I didn't even know I had this. Let's Hang on. This shit in reading mode or something. Well, whatever. This notification won't go away, but I guess we don't need it to. We will we'll look at this soon, either in this stream or in part 2 today. Oh, hello. Well, hello there, Carolina. So, again, it says the androgyne pours water and fire into the cauldron, which you can see right there. As soon as it will focus. Pours water and fire into the cauldron. I don't know if it's going to focus, but you can basically see it anyway. So we'll just leave it at that. The lovers and art cards are seen together below. Okay, so they show the two of them for comparison, I guess, overall comparison. Then it says additional symbolism. Artemis, parentheses Greek, / Diana, parentheses Roman. Central figure of the card, and she is the moon goddess. Her bow has been transformed into the moons at the top of the art card. She is also, in green, represent feminine fertility. With the sun represented in the heart region and the abundance of green in the card, there is a strong message of fertility to this card. This may relate to the being in harmony. This may relate to being in harmony within, I think it's meant to say. Being in harmony within. Then it shows this image right here. If it'll focus for us. Oh boy, once I get some more money, I'm going to be getting a new webcam eventually. And hopefully it'll focus better on things, focus and refocus better. That'll probably be in the next, I don't know, several months or something. Depends how much money I make in the next several months. Lamen on breastplates. Lamen is a general term for a magical pendant worn around the neck so that it hangs upon the breast over the heart, such as the one below from the OTO. Before I show that, that's yet another word I'm going to look up. I don't want to say it wrong. It sound. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, it's not actually pronunciation. See if this has it. Howtopronounce.com.
Lehman.
Layman.
Lehman. Lehman. Lehman.
Of course, who knows if that's correct or not, but whatever. So, okay, then it gives an example of one of these, a magical pendant worn around the neck, so that it hangs upon the breast over the heart, such as, yeah, then this is an example of one of those from the OTO. Right there. There it goes. Layman of 6 spheres in her heart region. 6 is the number of the sun, which rules the 6th Sephiroth, Tifereth. So her body is feminine, but she has masculinity, which rules the heart. So, and you can see that right here. And Geez, if it'll focus. I have quite the soothing voice. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy it. Before too long, as soon as I probably get about $20 more, I'm going to be getting an external USB microphone that should greatly improve the quality of the audio on these streams, so you'll hear my voice much more accurately. It's not exactly entirely accurate over my webcam microphone, sadly. Though I guess it's not terrible. Artemis was also known as the many-breasted goddess. You can see that figure right here. See if we can get it to focus. Okay. Also on the breastplate there is the arrow, seen in the lower middle of the image, and the sphere it is placed on is that of Yesod, ruled by the moon. The arrow represents Sagittarius and points to Tifereth, the path the Thoth Tarot Art card represents on the Tree of Life. And then it says, this implies that the lower subconscious elements of Yesod are integrated with the higher energies of the Christ Center in Tifereth. And this is in green text and italicized, so it must be really important, which, yeah, I think it is. So let that really sink in. This implies that the lower subconscious elements of Yesod are integrated with the higher energies of the Christ Center in Tifereth. So again, talking about the integration that this card is all about, the alchemical integration and transmutation that this card is all about. So hang on, let me see if I can demonstrate this here. So also the breastplate, there is the arrow. Okay, I believe I see it. And the sphere it is placed on is that of Yesod, ruled by the moon. Okay, yeah, you can, I'm gonna try to show this here. It's rather subtle, but if we can just get it to focus, it'll be visible. See if doing something like this will help it. I think we almost had it. Okay, there, you can see it from here actually. You can see the arrow on the breastplate, and it says, and the sphere it is placed on is that of Yesod, ruled by the moon. So, like, pay attention to all this. This is some key stuff. The arrow represents Sagittarius and points to Tifereth, the path the Thoth Tarot Art card represents on the Tree of Life that we saw earlier, remember? This implies that the lower subconscious elements of Yesod are integrated with the higher energies of the Christ Center in Tifereth. So, there you have it. Green robe refers to fertility or spring, arising from the union of emperor and empress. Which is fascinating because what did I talk about earlier when an earlier article said that this card is numerologically related to the emperor? I said, well, it's also related to the empress. And now here we're seeing that it's actually the union of those two. So there you go. Related through numerology to the emperor, related through the Kabbalistic Tree of Life to the empress. Fool's journey, death to art transition. Okay, and so here we see from going from the death card that we looked at last week to the art card. Death involves the purging of that which is no longer functioning and serving our new life. The Thoth Tarot Art card represents the step whereby we work on ourselves and spirit works with us to reintegrate into a higher evolved being. This is all part of the learning that we have to do when we follow our spiritual path. This step of reintegration is not always easy when going through this process, but has the potential of evolving us spiritually. So potentially a difficult step, but one which will bring greater harmony into our lives. All right, I'm going to reread that to make sure it sinks in for all of us, including me. Death involves the purging of that which is no longer functioning and serving our new life. The Thoth Tarot Art card represents the step whereby we work on ourselves and spirit works with us to reintegrate into a higher evolved being. Yes, this is basically what I was saying earlier, one of my theories about this card at the beginning of the stream, that with death being all about deep emotional healing and stuff like that, that the art card is continuing that process, basically, or the temperance as it's also known. This is all a part of the learning that we do when we follow our spiritual path. This step of reintegration is not always easy when going through this process, but has the potential of evolving us spiritually. So potentially a difficult step, but one which will bring greater harmony into our lives. Thoth Art Tarot Card Divinatory Meanings. The Thoth Art Tarot card is closely associated with the Rider-Waite Temperance card. Thoth Upright. So now we're going to get into the meanings that we get for this card when we find it in various spread readings. One, the Thoth Tarot Art card indicates that you are learning to bring about balance and moderation in your life. You have been able to take the middle road, avoiding extremes and maintaining a sense of calm. 2, keeping calm in situations of great stress or anxiety. Do not let things get to you, and finding a place of peace where you can put things into perspective when things get hectic. 3, the need to strive for balance and tranquility is what will help you to achieve and experience fulfillment in your life. 4, this card also reflects a higher learning in what you are doing and demonstrates that you are learning a great deal on your journey in terms of integrating those things which you need to bring into balance, which may have been holding you back. 5, in relation to others, temperance represents adaptation, coordination, and tempering those things which are happening in your daily life at home and work. Try to work in harmony with others coming from a place of stability and strength inside of you. 6, finding the right balance of your skills and interests to make the most out of your life. 7, the Thoth Tarot Art card asks you to be patient so that you can act with conscious intent. Patience and moderation will result in good management of all things. Do not feel that you need to rush, just let the situation evolve at its natural pace. In summary, in its emphasis on reintegration that we have seen as a central theme to this card, the art card can also reflect a period of self-evaluation in order to re-examine your life priorities. You are now seeking a much greater balance between your inner and outer selves, searching for a higher meaning and purpose in life. Throughout this transition, you may also experience a clash between your established habits and way of thinking and your new evolved vision. Just keep looking inwards without fear, but with a calm determination to overcome any obstacles in the knowledge you are moving on to a much better, harmonious life. All right. And we see this a lot with the spiritual journey typically, don't we? Where a lot of people will first get into spirituality and think that, oh, it's just going to be amazing forevermore. Like their lives are just going to be amazing and feel so good forevermore. And maybe for a time, especially through a lot of positive focus, yes, your life will improve greatly and it will be amazing and wonderful. But there comes a point where if you have unhealed trauma, and like basically everyone does, you need to take that light of your consciousness that you've built up through positive focus into the shadow and engage in this process of reintegration, this alchemical process that this card talks about and other cards talk about in the tarot deck as well. Then if you don't do that, it's going to lead to very big problems because eventually those polarities must reconcile. And if you don't reconcile them, the universe will basically make sure that you reconcile them one way or another. So let's see. You don't what? Sometimes I get confused by comments because I'm not sure to what I just said that they're referring. So Thoth Art Reversed. 1. The Thoth Art card reversed reflects a time when something is out of balance, in conflict, or excessive. and is therefore creating stress and tension in your life. 2. You may be acting impatiently or refusing to take the moderate, gentle approach. Be wary of hasty action, as this will only lead to further imbalance. 3. A time when you need to reflect on what changes are necessary in your life to create greater purpose and fulfillment. Return to the energy of the Death card to understand what you need to leave behind you in the past and what changes you need to embrace in the future. 4. In relation to your external circumstances, the people you are dealing with are proving to be uncooperative, or you may feel as though your interests are in conflict or competition with each other. 5. Unresolved conflicts in both of you have yet to be expressed clearly or addressed. Indeed, you may not be conscious of them, although you are aware that something is wrong. Right, interesting. Of course, apparently, like, this deck, this Thoth deck, was created without the use of reversals intended. But at the same time, you know, you can still choose to read them reversed, and I do when I do readings with it for myself. But yeah, I'm just throwing that out there because apparently the cards are designed to not even be read reversed, actually. So let's see here. Thoth Art Tarot card and the Celtic Cross spread. So now we're going to go through interpretations of what the card means when it appears in various positions of the Celtic Cross spread. And you can see the version of that spread that they are giving here. All right, so if it appears in position 1, the heart of the situation, it means the need to bring balance and harmony in your life by avoiding extremes and working through subconscious blocks. 2, if it appears in the possible obstacle, unresolved conflicts, excesses in your life throwing out balance and harmony. If it appears in 3, unconscious influences, things in your subconscious you may not even be aware of that are not resolved and holding you back. If it appears in position 4, recent past, a time of harmony and using your skills to their full potential. If it appears in position 5, hopes and goals, higher learning and finding the right balance in your life to express your interests. If it appears in position 6, short-term future, the need to work through things which are holding you back. Focus on your highest ideal at this time and remove that which does not serve. If it appears in position 7, our self-image in this situation, it means the need to be calm and patient and work out a plan for greater life harmony. If it appears in position 8, environment, people are in conflict with how you want to express yourself or what you want to achieve. If it appears in position 9, guidance and warning, you cannot put off reaching inside yourself to resolve that which may cause your life to go out of balance. Having the situation be as it is, like having a karmic loaded gun, and having the situation be as it is, I think it's supposed to say, is like having a karmic loaded gun, and the effects on your life will be unpredictable. And position 10, the overall outcome, harmony and balance, moving your life onto a higher octave through having the patience and courage to work through subconscious blocks. The result is a more productive spiritual life, bringing many realizations out into the world. All right, and that concludes that article. Wow, that was very in-depth and insightful. So next we'll look at another website or two just for the Temperance card in general, and then go from there. You don't have one? You mean like you don't have a shadow aspect to go through? You've transmuted all of that? Wow, that is quite the accomplishment, I must say. So, that was a very long article, as usual, so we're just going to take a little breather here for a minute or so, and then we will continue. I'm going to check on a couple things with the stream. Okay, so we're going to be streaming for about another 40 minutes here, just so you know. But I'll be back later as well, as usual. So we are again going to look up Temperance card on the internet, see what comes up and what we think of such things. So next up is eclectic.net. Temperance tarot card meaning. Temperance card symbols. An angel, often female or genderless, a pool or river of water, 2 cups or beakers of fluid flowing between them. Temperance tarot story. Recovering from feelings of loss at last, the fool begins to wonder if he will finally find the new spirituality he's after. It occurs to him that so far he's been dealing with opposites, the 2 opposing sides of the scales, justice, the material and spiritual, which he hung between as the hanged man, death and birth, the one leading into the other in the death card. Does one always have to be surrendered to get the other? He wonders. It is at this point that he comes upon a winged figure standing with one foot in a brook, the other on a rock. The radiant creature pours something from one flask into another. Drawing closer, the fool sees that what is being poured from one flask is fire, while water flows from the other. The 2 are being blended together into a completely different substance. How can you mix fire and water? The fool finally whispers. Never pausing, the angel answers, you must have the right vessels and use the right proportions. The fool watches with wonder. Can this be done with all opposites? He asks. Indeed, the angel replies. Any oppositions, fire and water, man and woman, thesis and antithesis, can be made into a unified third. It is only a lack of will and a disbelief in the possibility that keeps opposites opposite. And that is when the fool begins to understand that he is the one who is keeping his universe in twain, holding life/death, material world and spiritual world separate. In him, the 2 can merge. All it takes, the fool realizes, is the right proportions, the right vessel, and enough faith that the 2 can be unified. So there you go. Temperance tarot meaning. It is hard at first to see where Sagittarius, the ruling sign of this card, fits in. Sagittarius is an expansive sign, and we often identify temperance with abstinence. Temperance, however, really means moderation. Thus, you don't give up wine, but rather cut the wine with water. There is, however, another angle to the card, that of tempering or transforming. Thus we continue on from death, which prepared us for transformation. With tempering, iron is transformed into steel with heating and cooling, fire and water. Similarly, Sagittarius, the centaur, is another one of those creatures that merges beast and man into something unique, yet not so unique as men and horses have often, quote-unquote, merged together, the one on the back of the other to form a unit. And then there is the bow and arrow, one moving, one stationary, working together to point the way. Temperance may be, at first glance, a warning to, quote-unquote, temper your behavior, but it may also be a reminder that seemingly irreconcilable opposites may not be irreconcilable. Sagittarius is a sign of optimism, philosophy, and taking risks. This card urges the querent to have faith that they can merge fiery red and watery blue into otherworldly violet. but they will need to experiment, have confidence, and try again. 13's observations on temperance. In many ways, this card is about the Sagittarian desire to find a unified field theory, a way of blending opposites, achieving synthesis. Crowley calls the card alchemy, and that might well be the best definition for it. Well, I don't know. Apparently, Crowley calls the card art, but whatever. In fact, it sometimes works best for me to imagine the angel wearing a lab coat and very carefully pouring measured amounts of colored liquids into beakers rather than cups. One thing to remember is that temperance isn't about surrendering either the water or the wine. It is about mixing things until you get exactly what you want, which is usually a perfect blend of the two. In a reading, this card often represents a situation where the querent can't get opposites to quote-unquote blend together, choices, belief systems, families, friends, and may feel that they have to give up something. Temperance tells the querent that they don't have to do that. It says that a synthesis can be achieved if the querent is willing to keep on trying, experimenting, and adjusting the amounts. The querent might, for example, be trying to merge two full families when blending has to occur bit by bit with individuals. This is where the quote-unquote moderation message comes in. Try to make your ambition more realistic and you might well achieve it. The card is also a reminder that a bow and arrow are useless apart, but together a formidable weapon. This card tells the querent that they can and should put thesis and antithesis together to get the even more useful synthesis. But it will take time, care, patience, and experimentation. And yes, moderation. All right, so that concludes that article. So one could also say that a synthesis is the ideal. And what is Sagittarius the sign of? Idealism. Okay, so let us continue. Next up, we have the Wikipedia entry on temperance. Let's see what we think of that, and if we agree, disagree, or whatever. Temperance is the 14th trump or major arcana card in most traditional tarot decks. It is used in game playing as well as in divination. Description. Temperance, or Italian La Temperanza, appears in the oldest Italian decks where it is numbered 6 or 7. In the Tarot de Marseille and in most contemporary decks, the card is numbered 14. In the Thoth Tarot and decks influenced by it, this card is called Art rather than Temperance. And then it shows a picture with a caption that says, "A woman mixing water into wine was a standard allegory of temperance in European iconography. This statue is part of Peter of Verona's tomb." And you can see that image right there. I'm trying to hold this more still, actually. Temperance is almost invariably depicted as a person pouring liquid from one receptacle into another. Historically, this was a standard symbol of the virtue temperance, one of the cardinal virtues, representing the dilution of wine with water. In many decks, the person is a winged angel, usually female or androgynous, and stands with one foot on water and one foot on land. At the end of the path in the lower left part of the card, there is a crown to show the attainment of a goal or mastery thereof. In the Rider-Waite image by Pamela Coleman Smith, shown on this page, the Hebrew tetragrammaton is on the angel's chest above the square and triangle. In the derivative tarot decks, this is usually not included. All right, and yeah, the tetragrammaton. Yeah, it's right above the square and triangle. You can see it right here. Assuming, of course, that it will focus. There we go. Yeah, the tetragrammaton, which we have come across multiple times before in our tarot study as relating to these cards in ways that I think other people are more of an expert on than I am. I'm not an expert on it by any means. So it's funny how they include that and have it like seemingly blend into the illustration of the folds in the figure's robes. That's fascinating, I think. Oh, and that's actually it for this entry. All right, so next we'll look at something a little bit deeper. Very briefly, I'm going to check on a couple of things here. Okay, next up, we're going to look at Path of the Fool by Michael Tessarion, the entry in it on the Temperance or Art card. And the meanings in this book are designed for both versions of the card, both the Rider-Waite and Crowther versions. All right, Art/Temperance. Card name, Temperance, Art. Card number, 14, Element, Fire. Modality, Mutable. Planet rulers, Jupiter, Neptune. So apparently there's a Neptune connection with this card as well. Fascinating, considering that Jupiter and Neptune themselves are connected. Like, in modern times, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and Neptune rules Pisces. But in ancient astrology, Jupiter ruled both Sagittarius and Pisces because we didn't have, or well, we not that we didn't have, we hadn't yet discovered Neptune or any of the planets beyond Saturn at that time. So the astrological attribution for both Sagittarius and Pisces was Jupiter, and according to this book, the Temperance/Art card is ruled by both Jupiter and Neptune. So that just opened up a whole new dimension of things here. That means that there is a whole spiritual, non-physical, mystical, dreamy dimension of this card as well as what we've already sort of been over. And also, oh my God, and I just realized, oh my freaking God. What does Neptune do? Neptune dissolves. Neptune dissolves. And this is about the mixing together of liquids, metaphorically speaking. Dilution. So, anyway. Season, winter, alchemy, calcinadio, incineration. Astrological correspondence, Sagittarius. Kabbalistic correspondence, Binah, Path 25. Mythic correspondence, Sekhmet, Tefnut, Minerva. Can't pronounce these. Sekhmet, Tefnut, Minerva, Pallas Athena, Lug, Sol, Robin Hood. Cool. All right, now for the meanings. Prosperity, happiness, good luck. Growth, enlargement, expansion, plenty. Progress, advancement, development. promotion, success, wealth, luxury, favorable opportunity, individuality, independence, courage, self-confidence, optimism, passion, zest, sociableness, openness, enthusiasm, inspiration, lucidity, understanding, integration, synthesis, unification of opposites, harmonization of divergent parts, blending, moderation, honesty, truth, virtue, integrity, justice, codes of conduct, rightness, rectitude, respect, etiquette, decorum, finesse, faith, belief, conviction, tradition, culture, mores, established conventions, grace, sophistication, ease, social pursuits and endeavors, compassion, composure, tolerance, human rights, civic action, social work, generosity, benevolence, philanthropy, charity, advanced education, higher learning, philosophy, ethics, metaphysics, theology, idealism, faith, veneration, journalism, broadcasting, reportage, writing, publishing, authoring, media, promotion, advertisement, artistic ventures, clever innovations, long distance travel, voyages, vacation, visits, foreign places and persons, higher courts or high courts, major legal dealings, corporations, conglomerates, large business affairs, transnational enterprises, relations, and deals, judges, lawyers, paralegals, law enforcement officers, state representatives, executives, magnates, dignitaries, priorities, challenges, spiritual lessons, energy cycle closure, negative, so negative meanings, rapid expansion followed by challenges and obstacles, extroversion, exaggeration, extravagance, self-importance, overindulgence, gullibility, waste, excess, machismo, aggression, competitiveness, religious mania, sanctimoniousness, impatience, inflation, mania, fanaticism, excessive optimism, conformity, altruism, avoidance, refusal to see the dark side, false hope. Next up is reversed. Reversed. Bad luck, failure, loss, unfavorable fortune, hard times, poverty, lost opportunity, minimal successes, shattered expectations, loss of initiative, sabotage, violated trust, wasted effort, no sense of achievement, promotion denied, advancement blocked, adverse judgments, loss of faith, ideals shattered, inappropriate causes, misplaced trust, misplaced allegiance, pessimism, depression, sorrow, lack of experience, lessons unlearned, loss of composure, selfishness, parsimony, miserliness, hostility, accusation, blame, low morals, lack of integrity, dishonesty, immorality, shoddy work, lack of intelligence, lack of understanding, social incongruence, lack of sophistication, roughness, crudeness, narrow-mindedness, intolerance, atheism, spiritual emptiness, evil, spiritual crisis. And then it says, the reverse position advises us to either strengthen the positive or release the negative traits associated with the card. Bioenergetic, liver, large organs, appetite, body weight, fat, overindulgence, recuperative ability. All right, so that's what we have for that book. Let's look up another website or two. Making very good progress today, and yet we've still got a lot of delicious stuff to go over. Next up is tarot.com. Let's see what they have to say. Temperance. Now, or the time is now for self-healing, it says. Yeah, right off the bat, I'd say I agree with that. The The healing process, indeed. that's that's the idea of taking the light of one's awareness into the darkness and performing alchemy. Healing is what it's all about. All right, so it says general meaning. The Temperance card is a reference to the soul. Classically female, the woman or angel on the Temperance card is mixing up a blend of subtle energies for the evolution of the personality. One key to interpreting this card can be found in its title, a play on the process of tempering metals in a forge. Metals must undergo extremes of temperature, folding and pounding, but the end product is infinitely superior to impure ore mined from the earth. In this image, the soul volunteers the ego for a cleansing and healing experience, which may turn the personality inside out, but which brings out the gold hidden within the heart. In the advice position, identify and acquire the ingredients that will most help you complete your mission and leave the rest behind. The card in the advice position suggests a course of action which will harmonize what you want with what is currently possible. The Temperance card advises you to identify and seek the missing ingredients in your life. Marshal your known skills and abilities and do what needs to be done to complete your mission. Prepare to use spiritual practices, studies, or lifestyle changes that can assist you in your quest. A tremendous amount of benefit is available if you can organize yourself and be disciplined at this time. It looks like that is literally it. All right, what's next? PsychicRevelation.com. Don't think we've been there yet today. Introduction. Temperance is a card about balance in many ways and relationships of all kinds. Friendships, family, romantic partnerships, and work partnerships all need your attention. This is also a card about alchemy or mixing and matching. You may have to try several approaches to things before you find what is truly right for you. General. Although in general all your relationships are likely to be going quite well, you may need to look at your deeper personal issues and see if or how these are standing in your way, and if they are, how to work through them and integrate them. The idea now is to do what it takes to find balance in yourself, in your relationships, and with your goals and aspirations. Work. Aim high, but don't have expectations of yourself or others that you or they can't possibly meet. Do your work with patience and with stamina, and it will pay off for you in the long run. Your accomplishments will not be overlooked. Let's see, I've got to adjust the zoom here. Okay. Love. Often, before you can really have peace and wisdom in your relationships, you need to have peace within yourself. Look at what you feel guilty about, mistakes that you feel you've made in your past. Then forgive yourself and let them go. It's the only way you can truly make progress. Finances. There is likely to be a good balance between what is going out and what is coming in. However, if you need to increase or collect your earnings, you are going to have to ask for what you deserve. Have courage and pride, and you will not fail. Health. Balance and moderation is the key. Are you eating well, sleeping well, playing and working enough, getting enough exercise? Look at where you might be out of balance and then remedy this. Moderation is definitely the way to good health right now. Spirituality. This is an important time to meditate and to listen to your inner voice for guidance, and if you need help, to ask for it, both from your higher self and from others. Let me analyze something real quick. Again, I would just say, as I said earlier, if I got this card for a financial reading, I would almost certainly interpret it as, oh, this is a sign of prosperity. I'd almost certainly interpret it as a sign of prosperity and of gaining wealth because of its various connections. But it could also, these other meanings could apply as well. Okay, so we've gone through a number of sources. Let's see, what do we have left? We have the Book of Thoth entry. We have 78 Degrees of Wisdom. And we have the complete Book of Tarot Reversals. So let me think here. I wasn't going to get to those until after this, but I also don't want to waste any time, so one moment, please. One moment, one moment, one moment. Well, I think perhaps the best thing to do at this point is to look into the complete book of tarot reversals entry on this card, because we only have about a few minutes left of this stream, and then I'm going to be taking a break for an hour or so to make and eat lunch. Then I'll be back with part 2, and that's when we can get into the longer stuff, basically. So, all right, let's take a look at this. This is the complete book of tarot reversals entry on the Temperance card. Temperance is about moderation and modifying, and about finding your way between extremes by being temperate and considerate. You may be creating something new by blending, combining, or alternating components, which are likely to be contrary in nature. These could be represented by the cards to either side. Perhaps you are looking for solutions, bridging gaps, and catalyzing change, or attuning yourself to the environment and circumstances around you. The process, rather than the goal or result, is most vital here and may require repeated attempts, tests, trials, and mistakes to, quote-unquote, get the chemistry right. To maintain and maximize balance, homeostasis, you might have to make continual adjustments. You could also be concentrating on timing, temperature, pitch, or emotional disposition, trying to sense the right time, season, pace, or amounts. It can be as mundane as cooking or as exalted as mixing a magical elixir. The Temperance Angel can signify divine guidance or your guardian angel that supports you in the alchemy of transformation with patience, compassion, and forgiveness. Perhaps you are obtaining guidance and assistance from a trusted source. Sometimes there is baptism, rebirth, or renewal after the letting go of death. In modern interpretations, this is the primary healing card of the deck, wherein healing occurs holistically and by correcting imbalances and reconciling opposing beliefs. Oh boy. Now, if that isn't just a huge aspect of this card that has been overlooked thus far. So let's talk about that. This card is about the reconciliation of opposites, opposite polarities. It's also, being ruled by Jupiter in Sagittarius, about beliefs, belief systems. Well, what am I always telling people? Reminding people, your beliefs form your reality. And I'm also frequently reminding people that it's critical, it's vital to reconcile opposing beliefs. And so, lo and behold, have we just discovered another huge aspect of the Temperance or art card being the reconciliation of opposing beliefs, the reconciliation of conflicting beliefs. Is that a big aspect that we have here? Should that be something that we strongly take into consideration when we get it in a tarot reading? Is that it may be advising the querent to analyze their belief systems and reconcile opposing conflicting beliefs. I know for a fact that I, for one, am going to consider that from now on, because that is undeniable. That is undeniable. From my perspective on this card, putting together all of these pieces. You might be soothing tensions, offering solace, or bringing about a reconciliation by maintaining a calm temperament and a relaxing flow of energy. It views stress as a creative challenge and errors as blessings. You could be affirming wholeness, beauty, strength, and the ability to accomplish whatever you desire. For one querent, this card referred to a financial backer, a show business quote-unquote angel. You could be involved in managing budgeting or product testing. As a networker, you might make links and connections or facilitate a merger. It asks you to keep the circulation of ideas and forces moving by balancing emotions with concrete pragmatism. Traditional meanings: moderation, adaptation, adjustment, management, economy, frugality, combination, uniting, compatibility, accommodation, soothing, appeasing, alleviating, consoling, temperate, serenity, caution, discretion, temperature, timing. All right, so now we shall burn and observe temperance reversed. Temperance reversed. Temperance reversed suggests that something may be out of balance, in conflict, or excessive, thereby creating stress, which, if not alleviated, could result in ill health. Look to the cards on either side to find out what seems to be, or what seems problematic or unable to be combined. Alternatively, you may feel that people are uncooperative, or that your interests and needs are competing or conflicting. Emotions can get out of hand, resulting in quarrels and disagreements. Perhaps there are accidents or faults with mechanics or production. For instance, water leakage or breakdowns in heating or cooling or regulatory systems. Chemical solutions could separate or become corrupted. Energy dissipates. Creative projects and experiments can turn out to be impractical or require more time, leading to impatience and frustration. You could lack compassion and believe that a situation has to be all or nothing. You may feel out of the flow and disconnected. So that's something else interesting to comment on with this card real quick. With the idea that each card is not just the complement, but also the opposite of the card before it and the card following it. Well, before this card and what we analyzed last week with the Death card, we had the Pluto rulership of that card talking about the state of being all or nothing. We had that all or nothing energy. And now this week with the Temperance card coming immediately after that, instead of all or nothing, we have let's take a moderate approach. Let's, balance, or I don't really like that word. Let's unify, let's reintegrate. Let's not go to extremes. Let's instead be centered. So another way of looking at the contrast of the previous card to clarify the meanings and ideas of this card. Perhaps you are unwilling to discard anything or refrain from committing to one possibility over another. You might avoid tackling a problem, perhaps because you feel uncreative or lack of confidence. You might procrastinate or waste time because of distractions, inefficiency, or wavering. This card suggests unease, unrest, and uncertainty. Timing could be off. You may be out of sync, and adjustments do not come out right. You could overreact or overcompensate. If projected onto others, you might see them as too good and perfect, like ministering angels, and more talented than you can ever be. Or you may see them as intemperate. As inner temperance, it suggests being aware of your own internal disposition and physiological states. You may have an intuitive sense about the right combination of elements that is necessary to a situation, but are unable to put this into words or convince others. Health-wise, this is an indicator that your homeostatic processes and hypothalamus are working to regulate internal states, for instance, by means of antibodies that deal with infections. Upsets from tainted food, indigestion, or other eating disorders could occur, or you might go on a binge. You may respond well to such holistic treatments such as energy healing, therapeutic touch, massage, chiropractic, herbal tinctures and tonics, flower essences, aromatherapy, and homeopathy, practices that work on both the physical and subtle bodies. In the shamanic and magical realm, this is a card of psychic surgery, alchemical transmutation, and healing. It suggests the ability to work in two worlds simultaneously. It can also indicate contact with or feeding of the spirits of places and things, and working angel magic. It represents the priest or priestess officiating in the holy mysteries. Traditional reverse meanings: church, religion, clergy and their ministry, discord, disunion, ill-advised combinations, competition, conflict of interest, lack of cooperation, passive change, mood shifts, impatience, frustration, a grave illness, unsettled. All right, so that concludes the entry in that book. And it looks like it's about time to wrap up part 1 of this stream. Or I guess part 1 of the analysis of this card, which is this stream. So, indeed, there is a like a ladybug or something, a tiny little bug on my desk. That's weird. Anyway, so this has been part one of our analysis of the art/temperance card. And I know we have a few minutes left, but we don't really have time for another article or anything at this point, so I'm just going to wrap it up right now. So I want to thank everyone for being here. I'm going to go have lunch, have my feast, and then I will come back in about an hour, hour and a half for part 2 of this, where we're going to dive even deeper, if that is possible, into this card and into its meanings, its significance, what it means for our journey through life, what it means just in tarot readings, you know, all this stuff. I will probably also later on today, after that stream, come back with a live tarot reading for donation stream. So anyone who wants a tarot reading on anything can come look for me then if you would like to. So just a few more moments and we're going to wrap things up completely here. Funny that that we should look at this card literally the very next day after Within Temptation's new album Resist comes out. So talking about art, well, in my world at least, that is a huge event in the world of art, in the world of music, is Within Temptation's new album Resist. I highly recommend that everyone go listen to it, go buy it and listen to it right now. So thanks for being here. I'll be back in an hour, hour and a half, and I hope to see you then.